Stuart, I have a question, Chris.
Yes,
Stuart, will we be able to get a copy of your book?
yes.
Oh, good.
When I get it published, yes, it'll be available, not only you all, but the general marketplace. But
Good.
that's a process. Getting something published today is not an easy thing.
Mhm.
But I'm waiting for the book to be completely designed. I'm hopefully in the next couple of days that'll be finished. And then I'm going to have some books printed up, not finished books, but
Uh,
just mock-ups of the book. So I can take to publishing houses and I can take to curators and people that might be interested and just show them what the book looks like.
Oh, good.
Hopefully I'll get a publisher and then the book will be available.
Good.
Yeah, the purpose is, look, look, to be honest with you, I didn't write this book. And I really mean that. It might sound ridiculous to you all, but I read this book I said, my God, you wrote this? I said, this is something that just came through. I happen to be open enough and have some mastery of a writing craft, and it allowed this book to manifest.
Yeah.
And that really pleased me, you know,
Yes.
really pleased me. And then it needs to be for whomever. I mean, look, there's a guy in, you know, look, there's an inmate in a prison in Oregon, who got in touch with me about maybe 6 months ago, where he found my book, Navigating the River of Time, in the library in that prison. And he read it and it changed him. It
Oh,
affected him deeply that now we have this wonderful correspondence going on, extraordinary, And he's a great man, He'll be getting out of prison in maybe 3, 4 months. And that made writing the book worthwhile.
yes.
Not selling millions of copies to people that, are interested. Not, you got to paint by numbers, to write by numbers to do that. But somebody responds to it who really, it changed them. It affected them so deeply that he asked his girlfriend to try to get in touch with me and see if I would accept a letter from him. And she did by email, and she went to my website and she did. And I said, fine, tell him to write me. Here's my address. And we've had this wonderful correspondence. And on top of it all, I won't mention the name. I published a book called Beyond uh, the Other Side of Darkness or something like that, From Darkness to Light. And it was with a young woman who I had written 80 letters to, and she wrote me about 80 letters. And she was in prison, and basically when I first met her, it was, I mean, she was like this waif of a thing, frightened and, blue hair. And it was really something, but very intelligent eyes and very seeking eyes. And studying with me for a long time. And they just threw out her prison sentence. I mean, they took it off all the records, everything. It's just unbelievable what's happened this week. So,
Wonderful.
it's like things happen, miracles happen,
Yeah.
and I think they call it expungement. They expunged her prison sentence, which they just wrote it off the books. She was never convicted of anything, and now she's free to live her life without ever having to worry about that whole being above her. It happened through this meditation. That's how it happened. And now we're going to go celebrate, I think, next weekend. And I'm really looking forward to it. She and her boyfriend and Jennifer and I, we're going to go out and have a big celebration.
Wonderful.
Of course, So what I'm saying is you don't know. You don't know how things work in the world. And things work remarkably in the world when you don't take credit for them. You know, I don't know any book I've ever written got written, including, from darkness to light. Every one of those letters, something that just came through. I didn't plan them. I didn't, it just happened. And it creates miracles. And yes, the book Tantra, which I think is probably written better than anything I've ever written,
Yeah.
it will be out as soon as I can find a publisher. I want to go up to the Metropolitan Museum, because all the artwork in the book comes from the Metro, except for my friend Moray, it comes from the Metropolitan Museum. And I'm hoping I can get them interested in doing an introduction and God knows, maybe even publishing it. I'm sure they have ways of publishing books. So you don't know. I just take it a step at a time and, it's karma. I got to do this. This thing came through me. I got to support it and make it work, you know?
Wonderful.
So, you have to trust life. And I'm not only talking about books, it's everything. The people in our lives, relationships we have, what God sends us literally daily. You know, I mean, somebody got in touch with me, I guess a week ago, wanted me to do, she has a podcast. She wants some kind of an award at Tribeca Film Festival. She wanted me to be part of the podcast. And I had to tell her no. And I had very real reasons for it. And what was amazing is she understood. She said,
Wow.
she wrote me back, I completely understand why you don't want to do this. So I wrote her back. I said, let's do something from darkness to light. It's something I haven't heard back from her. But I'm just saying, you never know what manifests in your life when you really make the commitment to serve a higher force of energy in the universe. All kinds of miraculous things take place. They
Mhm.
used to really take place. Now, look, I'm a lot older and I'm not as active in the world as I used to be, but still, very interesting and sacred things take place in your life. And you don't even understand why they happen, but it's just a test. Can you open and do these things and not take any credit for them? Just like, hey, this is my karma, what I have to do in my life. This is what I've been sent to do in my life. And the book Tantra is very much like that. I read that book. I said, my God, who wrote this thing? I'm reading another book. It's the same way. This guy wrote it, and you can see that it's just coming through him. And he happened to have a mastery of the craft of writing. And it's a very beautiful book that just kind of came through him. So I don't think anyone should ever poo-poo anything that takes place in their life. Open to it, see how it works for you, see how far it can take you in your evolution, your growth, your spiritual evolvement, and be grateful for what made these things possible. What made everything possible in my life was this extraordinary teacher I had named Rudy. And I do everything I do today because of gratitude to him. Gratitude. I have to do service because, for God's sake, what flowed through him saved my life.
It's wonderful. Thank you.
Does anyone else have a question they'd like to ask?
Stuart, I have a question.
Yes.
Recently, I was reading from your book, Tantra.
I can't, you have to speak up.
Recently, I was reading your book, Tantra. It was October 15th, 2022. And you're talking about sexual energy. And so, could you talk about, maybe explain, how does the conscious use of sexual energy in Tantra transform lower elements of life into divine force?
Well, look, most of tantric books that have been written, they write it about kind of the erotic nature of spiritual practice. And yes, it's about that because the major element of Tantra takes place in the sexual area, in the chakra, in the sex. But most people have missed the point. Tantra is really about transformation. It's about changing these lower elements that you mentioned, of life into a spiritual life. That whole transformation takes place as energy moves through the sexual area. And that's an essential part of any kind of inner work. So it's more than just erotic. I mean, mostly you see books on Tantra and they have all these gods and, Rinpoches and, you know, coupling with their consorts and accept. But yeah, it's really a metaphor for the male-female principle that unifies in the sexual area and activates Kundalini. And Kundalini is the pathway to enlightenment.
Mm.
And the work we do, you draw energy through the sexual area to the base of the spine. As it goes through the sexual area, that male, female, the yin yang, Shiva Shakti, whatever you want to call it, there's a marriage of the male, female. And I'll just say simply, it doesn't matter if you're straight or gay or trans or this or that, or A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It doesn't matter. The union of the male-female principle is essential for the development of a spiritual life. That takes place in the sexual area. But that's not going to happen if the heart is closed, if the mind isn't quiet, the throat isn't open. You understand? You need to develop the entire chakra system. That gives you the strength to draw energy through the sex and unify the male-female principle. Because Tantra is really about transformation. That's what it really is about. It's not about the erotic nature of meditation, It's about the transformation of the human to the spiritual. And that's very much part of the work we do. Understand? It's the transformation of karma, the human level, with spiritual life. Slowly, gradually, all of that karma becomes nothing. And then the flow of higher energy goes through and the union of the male-female takes place. And Kundalini is this rocket ship to God, to enlightenment. Well, honestly, I never heard Rudy talk about this. And over the years of my inner work, these realizations took place. I mean it. It's just uniquely to having spent, 4 decades doing it, 5 decades doing it, you begin to get certain kind of insights and realizations that are really remarkable and true, profound. And I tried to share that with people in a language that is understandable in this book, Tantra. We're not talking with Sanskrit and, the way they write these books. You can't understand. You have to look more in a dictionary than you reading the book, but in a language that's understandable. So, you know, when you Tantra is that's what it's about. Transformation. The human to the spiritual. And we're born here on the earth to do this. That's why we come here. And that's why people have hundreds of lifetimes to do it. To finally realize why they were born here, why they come here to suffer so much and go all through the crap they go through and madness that goes on here. To learn how to get free of it. Does anyone else have a question? Is that clear?
Yes, it was very beautifully written. I'm going to go back and read it a few more times. It was very interesting. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it'd be great when I can get this thing published and people. I mean, it's going to be a very beautiful book. I mean, there's like 40 or 50 photographs of great art that's in the Metropolitan Museum of Art that's going to be in this book. And that itself was a miracle because I wanted to do this. And I said, well, how the hell am I going to do this? I have to get the rights and from all these different. And then I called up the Met and they said, what are you worried about? Go to our website. There's 450,000 pictures on our website of our inventory, our art that's in the public domain. You can use it any way you want without having to pay a penny to the Met. Couldn't believe it. I was like listening. I said, my God, went right there. And the art collection in the Met is something extraordinary. Something extraordinary. And then there's Buddhist, there's Hindu, there's Christian, there's Jainism, there's Islamic, there's Kabbalah. I couldn't find Kabbalah, so I have my friend Moray did these remarkable paintings that have to do with the Kabbalah. You know, amazing paintings he did. So I included about 4 or 5 of his paintings in the book. And he's a very close friend of mine, very dear friend of mine. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay. God bless you all. Thank you. And there'll be meditation on Tuesday. Have a great Memorial weekend. Those of you that celebrate it, enjoy the weekend, beginning of summer. And I'll repeat it once again. There's 3 spaces open to come to my birthday retreat. If you want to attend, stop thinking about it. And if you don't want to attend, stop thinking about it. But there are 3 spots open. And you'd be very welcome to come and experience what goes on during these retreats. God bless you all. Thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on Tuesday.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're
Very
welcome.
much. Thank you,
Sarah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye.